before this, didn't you?
No. Off day.
It's true. You did tell me that earlier.
Off
You
day.
did tell off day, cuz. All right, we're about to be live. So 3, 2, 1. What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Business and Biceps. And you better wake your ass up, because on today's show, we're going to talk about, we're not entertaining ourselves as much right now. We got a lot of our thoughts collecting. What are some of the things that maybe is going through these minds out here, Johnny, that we might be battling, that maybe some of the things we've been through in the past we can help with, or lend some ideas and things that can help everybody kind of cope. And this is real stuff. It's a little deep, but I don't think anybody can get away from it right now, bro.
Yeah, that's what I would say is this is probably more of a deeper conversation that we're going to have. And sometimes people just look for the surface stuff because it's more comfortable to hear. But I think we're going to try to dig deep today because I know we both have had some circumstances recently, but I know I've talked to some people that are getting to a point where I exactly thought people would get to, and that's starting to feel the emotional and mental health burdens that go along with long periods of isolation. And I think we're going to try to talk about what we can do, what we all can do to kind of lessen the blow on ourselves and take this time to improve.
Well, yeah, and this is one of the things we talked about early, right? Now we're coming up on, a month or so. This is one of the first things we talked about in that episode was like, hey, the world's about to slow down, and a lot of people aren't used to having this much stillness in their life. There's no sports. The activities are, next to nothing. You're stuck in your house. You're going to be forced to deal with some things that you've been entertaining yourself away from for maybe your whole life, potentially. That's real, bro.
It's absolutely real. And like we were talking about before the show, I talked to somebody recently who it was interesting. Someone I've known for a long time back home who, in their own words, isn't really taking care of themselves. And what I mean by that is, and this is an example to every listener, what people may be going through, right? Because when you have this period of time, you start noticing things about yourself. He's not taking care of himself. He's not eating. And he's not eating not because he doesn't want to eat. He's not eating because he doesn't feel he deserves to eat. And he's had time to think about this. He's not showering, not because he doesn't want to be clean, because he feels like he doesn't deserve to be clean. He's not keeping his hygiene up. What he's uncovering is that he has some level of, and it's fascinating, but I think we all have different things in our own way, some level of self-hatred.
Yeah.
And it's really sad to hear, but it's necessary. Right. So these are things that people could immediately kind of hear and be like, oh, that's not me. I don't deal with that. Listen, we all got our own fucked up shit. And this
Facts.
this person was, this is the key. This person was strong enough. A lot of people view that as weakness. Oh, someone's like, oh, they're weak. No, they're not fucking weak. They're human and they're strong enough to open up. And when you open up, then you can start to go to work on it. Because if you don't go to work on it, whatever that thing is that was there before, you just didn't pay attention to it because you were always distracting yourself, right? It's there and it's going to stay there for as long as you let it be there. Now this person is like, shit, I got to do something about it because this is a fucking problem. And it's not about this person. It's about this person is a microcosm of what I believe a lot of people are going through. They're figuring things out that don't make sense. And when they don't make sense, you need to talk to people you trust and care about. And from there, you have to go to a professional. This stuff is you're going to hear it. All of us are going to hear it. If we have good relationships with people, we're going to hear more and more of this stuff because it's just real.
Yeah, it is real. And it's interesting because we touch on things in this kind of area a lot on the podcast. And a lot of times people aren't willing or ready to even go down this road, but there's so many people being forced that way. And I think to have like true happiness, it's a constant thing you're working on, evaluating and attempting to get through. So it's like when this comes up, like you said, Johnny, it's not a weakness. It's actually a strength of yours if you can continue to like open up, work on it, get through it, and whatever that means to you. It's like actually it's the breakthrough.
What's step one of a solution? Identifying the problem.
Yeah.
Do you know how many people do not want to identify the problem that falls solely on their shoulders? Because if it falls solely on your shoulders and you identify it and you're strong enough to identify it, what does that mean? That means you have to take action. But the problem is you don't know what action to take. You just know you're feeling fucked up. That's okay. Because there are just like you would go see a motherfucking doctor. If you had heart palpitations, there's professionals that work on this stuff. All this stuff is okay. That's what people need to know. And the note I wrote down that we were talking about is, I'm just looking at it right now, is I wrote down the hidden, when I was having this conversation with this person, this popped in my head, the hidden work and the extraordinary reward. That thought came from the fact that, okay, so for younger people who aspire to have this life, right? They aspire to have this life, and in their head, the life looks like a big home and cars and a family and all these things, and then they can look to people. They can look to people who have those things, and they can see what those people do, right? Like people who own businesses, people who work hard, and they can see and read about what those people do to get that. But here's the misnomer. That isn't happiness. That's on the outside, and that's a picture. Okay, I know way more people who have that stuff who are depressed and miserable because all that stuff, they thought that was the end game. And then they got there, and then it's now what, right? So they're empty. They're empty. But the problem for young people is they don't see the people who take the time. Just let's use the example I talked about at the beginning of the show, the person who's finding out they don't like themselves or whatever. They take the time for 10, 15, 20 years, and guess what they achieve? They achieve contentment with themselves and happiness with themselves, which is like the extraordinary reward, which I wrote down. That is the reward. That's so much bigger than being rich or having, when you can wake up every day and be happy and be comfortable in your own skin and not be depressed and feel good. That is the reward. That's what life's about. All this other stuff that we talk about, sure, it's a business show. Everyone wants to succeed. We all know I do and you do. This is a different topic. This is the extraordinary. This is the biggest reward. And that's waking up and being happy. And listen, you don't just, this may sound weird, you don't get to just do that. Life is a force of nature. So if you want to wake up and be happy every day, truly happy, not say, I'll be happy if I have this pair of shoes, I'll be happy if I have this car. No, truly happy, meaning if I have nothing, bro, I'm good. I'm good. I got people. I have relations. I'm good. If you want that, there's so much work that needs to go in, but the problem is no one shines the light on that work, and you can't see that work. That's the problem.
It's literally like an entirely different type of success. It's personal.
It's real. It's real success.
Yeah. It's wild, Johnny, because I think that, I never went and saw a professional. I'm not saying I won't ever, because I'm definitely up for it. I know you have a little bit more experience with that, but it's like, but I went through a self-education process of so many years trying to probably, identify some of those things or figure out what makes me tick a little bit more, and really like a lot of self-evaluation. Like I've spent a lot, like it was crazy. I did a calculation this morning on that. When I did the streak, my last major streak of lunges, I mostly listen to audiobooks and podcasts trying to, work on things like this. And it's like, dude, I counted up how many hours it was in a year, 7,000 hours. I did 303 days of a half mile, And I combined that with the amount of time that it normally takes me to do that. And it was like 7,000 hours
What do you
within
mean
that
7,000 hours?
of material that was
Huh.
in personal development, listening to my headphones. So it takes me about, so check this out, a half mile a day of lunges.
Okay.
Takes me about roughly 30 minutes.
Okay.
That's 150 miles over top of over
You're talking about
303 days.
150 miles over the course of a year.
Over 303 days.
Okay.
But the entire time I don't listen to music. I'm listening to stuff that is in a personal development type of vein. It's always about like the laws of the universe or things I want to learn about, or trying to like work on relationships. It's all that type of stuff.
Sure.
It literally every day. And so I was thinking about, like, I added up the time frame to give myself a magnitude of the amount. And it literally came up to like, it was a little over 7,000 hours, or right
you're
under.
Speaking of the full 24 hours in the day.
No, I'm speaking of all that combined time over 303 days equaled to that amount.
But here, if you take 24 hours times like 250 days, meaning if you were to lunge for 250 days, that's around 7,000 hours.
So maybe I'm going to make sure my calculations real time. We're going to do it on here, right? So I went a half mile a day times 303 days. That's 151 miles. Okay. It takes me roughly 45 minutes per mile. Roughly.
So
times 45 equals 6,817.
So 45, right? It is three quarters of an hour.
So let's go.
So it'd be 1/5. It would be 303 times 0.75.
303. Maybe I did my 0.75. Hold on. 3. Real time.
So 227 hours.
So my time is all right. Anyway, so 300 hours, a little bit different than 7,000.
That's what I'm saying, bro. Like that's 250 days straight. I'm like, whoa.
All right, so I need to go back and amend my Instagram post. But all right, so it feels like 7,000 hours.
Okay,
either way,
okay,
even 250 hours. We'll take that way down. But thank you for calling me on that. Yeah, I'm not even mad about it because it is what it is.
No, I literally was like confused. I was like, wait, am I missing something?
All right, so I was missing something, which is a calculator, using it properly. All right, so anyway, so 250 hours is still a fuckload of time, right? So either way, the point of it is that it's a concentrated effort in this vein. And I've been doing this off and on for 6 or 7 years.
Sure.
It takes that amount of dedication that feels like 7,000 hours to be and uncover. And I'm still working on it every day. So when people are just now having these things pop up, my whole point of this talk was that it's something that is a daily initiative that you have to take extremely serious to even try to get there.
Does
that make sense? What I'm trying to say?
That makes total sense. And I think habits like that are 1,000,000% good for 100% of the population. No argument there whatsoever. Okay. The one thing I would say though is it doesn't matter who you are or how. It's amazing.
I'm amending my post, by the way. 300 hours.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Doesn't matter who you are or how together we feel. If you go sit down with a professional, they will break you down and humble you so quick, not in a negative way, but in a teaching way. That's the one thing. So I think the last time I did was like a year ago. And of course, I think I've made a lot of strides, and I believe I have. But then there's, that's life. Then there's these other things that I'm in a different period in my life, and then they're like bop 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 bop, and you're like, holy shit, I don't even see that about myself. So I think it would be really interesting for this show, honestly, Core, if you went and talked to somebody just to see what you take from it, because the way I look at it, from having a mother who like ingrained that in me as like, oh, you get your health checked twice a year. Yeah, well, you should get this checked twice a year too. It's just as important, if not more. I just think you would take some things from it that you probably never even thought about. I know from doing.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm sure. No, that's why I said I'm not against it. I need to just make it work, make it happen, and try to go see what, because there's I'm sure a ton of things, especially within like my craziness that I display. Like I'm sure there's that can be matched up a lot for me.
Oh, absolutely. They dig right into you with the fucking shovel. And, the hardest part for anyone thinking about doing it, the hardest part is this. It's all fake news. It's all fraudulent if you go in there and you're not 1,000,000,000% honest, because that's like going into a doctor's office and saying, hey, I really have a brutal pain in my lower back. But he asks you what's wrong and you say, oh, nothing. I just have a little like pain in my elbow. So it's like, if you're not honest with a psychologist or mental health professional to the umpteenth degree, what you get out of it is going to be nothing, because they cannot see the broken arm. They cannot see the broken back from a car. So that's one thing I would say to anyone who's thinking about it, and everybody should think about it, is if you're not ready to be honest, you're not ready to walk in there.
Yeah, the back to your original point too, Johnny, was the self-sabotage or the non-deserving kind of actions. I ran into this with a friend of mine not that long ago that was I think he suffers from some PTSD. He was a military guy, special forces, a guy I really care about. Not a lot of people know. But he just continually over time, it's almost like I told him this, and I could see the way he felt. I said, man, I'm not sure what you did or what you were made to do or what you were trained to do. And I know it was pretty serious, but like it's okay for you to be happy. Like he would continue to sabotage himself because he didn't feel like he was deserving of a quality family life and to be a basically just productive, happy guy. I could just see it a mile away. And it's not because I'm some amazing person that understands all this stuff, but I could just see it very plainly just by observing him for a period of time. And I was like, and when I said that to him, he almost broke down because he knew it was I was dead on. I was like, bro, I was like, you don't feel like you're deserving of this, but I'm telling you, like, I understand that was your job. I'm not telling you I know how to help you deal with those things, but just think about this for a second. You're doing this to yourself, and no one is doing this. Like, you are able to live this life and you're self-sabotaging it. So it's in kind of that same vein of what you were talking about. People tend to do this a lot. And I don't know how to exactly tell them how to get through it, but I think being aware of it and then to your point is go to figure out how you can unravel that properly so you can be a happier person. I
think there's a lot of things that we all think we should be doing. Like there's like this should complex that's based on years and years of expectations that are put on us, mostly from family, but also from society. And the one thing that I've found to be absolutely true is that you have to, first and foremost, know yourself. And the way you know yourself is you have to ask yourself questions. So if you do things differently than other people, so for example, me, right? I use John. Why aren't you married? Why don't you have kids? How I answer myself back, I think I want a kid. I think that I think I do, but like, I'm not sure that I want to be married. Why? Well, because I really enjoy my life now. And sometimes when I'm with other people, I truly rather be doing something else. Okay. Is there something wrong with me, or is that okay? Well, I feel like that's my truth and I'm not hiding from anything. So for me, that's okay. So for the other person who's completely opposite, who's like, I really want to, have kids and this and that, like, okay, that's their truth. Everybody is different. And I think the problem comes in is when we feel this pressure to fit in a mold that we do not fit into,
Have you felt that pressure, Johnny, with that exact scenario?
No, but I always question myself because I want to understand myself.
I got you. Okay.
Always. So I haven't, but I know a lot of people do. And my point is this: when you look at a divorce rate in excess of 60%, and I am not anti-marriage. I'm just explaining, like, societal norms, like college and marriage, stuff like that. When you look at that, if that doesn't tell you people are doing it not because they love someone or something, but because they think that's just simpleton, that's just what you do. When you look at those rates, people aren't being honest with themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And then I know a lot of people who are divorced who are fucking happy, and I know a lot of people who are divorced who aren't. So it's like, you really have to dig into yourself and say, what makes me happy on a daily basis? And if it's something that's completely radically different than society and or your family, that's you. Like you can't, it's like the whole thing. People who believe you can ungay someone. You can't, you know what I'm saying? No, but there are Christian camps where you go to get ungayed. It's bullshit. It's fraud. It's fake. Okay. If you're listen, I'm not gay. If you're gay, the sooner you accept it and share it, the happier you're going to be. Yeah. And I think that can apply to almost anything.
Yeah. It's in thinking on the other side of that kind of relationship thing. Like, I always wanted to, be married, have kids. Like, I never not wanted that. Right. But so here's what's the interesting part though. I wasn't looking for it though when I found it. So that's the thing why I knew the feelings weren't from a pressure of society ever. Cause I did it exactly when I was ready. Even you can ask Rach, like I probably engaged her 2 years longer, like than she wanted, but we both came from divorced families. So we both were like wanting to overly make sure that this is something we wanted, because we didn't want to put ourselves through that. Well, we went through as kids, or what our parents, you know what I mean? Like we had come from those environments. So it was funny because I always thought, man, I want to get my chance at this, to do better, to be to hopefully be a better dad than my dad, to get a chance at that thing that you talked about. But I didn't have like, I better have it done by this certain age, or that. I never really like operated under those type of pressures. Actually, it was the opposite. I'm at 21, pretty much knowing I found my wife, and I'm thinking, well, are you going to just succumb to that, or the opposite amount of pressure, which is all your homies are like, bro, why are you getting wifed up already? You see what I'm saying? Mine was actually the opposite way, Johnny, because
but the point is you're true to yourself.
I was true to myself, and I didn't care, because every old motherfucker I'd be around, like, dude, with the muscles and being in that industry, like, are you fucking giving up all kinds of chicks? And I'd be like, but it's not real. That's not what I'm thinking about. So it was interesting, because my pressure was the actual opposite way.
Well, and that's a great point, right? We all, everybody listening has different pressures.
Yeah.
No pressures are going to be the same. And at the end of the day,
never thought about it though. I'm glad you brought this up, because it made my brain go somewhere completely else.
Because only you know what you the fucking want. Only I know what I want. But it's healthy if you're torn between should I, which a lot of people live in that zone. Should I, bro, dig in, ask yourself fucking questions, dig into yourself and say, why do I want? So you can understand, like, okay, fuck what my uncle keeps saying. That's not what I want.
Everybody got one of them.
Yeah. And how, dude, I mean, I just, it's crazy. It's, for me to see the amount of like stiffs, that I see, like, who are like married, and like you could see like their wife, and that they like don't even like each other. They don't want to be around. It's so like, well, you don't have to spend your life with that person. Like, what are you doing? Like, why would you live that way? Why would you live in an existence where, hey, you know what? I want some time tonight, so I can't wait to get out to the garage. Like, what? Like,
divorce rates are probably going to go up with the quarantine, bro.
Yeah,
well, because people have to be with each other.
Yeah. Hey, you're a fucking cunt. I've been dealing with you for 10 years, you fucking bitch. I'm done with you. Like, oh my God, how did it take me this long to realize you're fucking 350 pounds?
This guy.
So, I mean,
Trey, what's wrong with this guy?
listen. I'm telling you, I'm just a truth teller over here. Listen, there's a lot of people that like big women and men too. So I'm just saying.
GSP.
Yeah, I got some more data on him. Yeah, but anyways, people are like, shit, man. I'm sitting at home with you every night. I'm looking at your fucking, disgusting ass, not because you look ugly, but because you're a disgusting person. Like, this isn't what I fucking want. Okay, then do something about it. This is and now, never again is the world gonna say, John, Corey, and to you, the listener, it's okay to take a break from life. The world's never going to say that to us again. It's saying it to us right fucking now. Okay, so you got to tend to yourself and you got to stop trying to do what you did before because it ain't like that. It's not like that.
Well, one of the things John and I were going back and forth with prior to the podcast, and I told him for like the last week, I'm really not like unhappy at all. I wish, like John said this, he goes, if there's a multiple choice questionnaire, I don't know if I'd pick, parts of what's happening right now, but I think I have a natural kind of loner thing going on that comes from my old man. He was kind of similar way, but way more advanced than me. But it's like, I've always kind of operated like this. So other than not being able to see my friends or, certain things, aspects of business, I get so much more family time, and there's not a lot of like kind of just entertainment type of stuff going on. There's like real conversations, real stuff happening. I get to still do things that I enjoy. I don't know, like I'm not really like, this thing don't really got me super twisted up. And I think it kind of lends back to, it did initially, but the adaptation process was only a few days. Absolutely. And then it's like, I'm cool with operating like this. I don't fucking absolutely love it because some things have been taken away that I truly miss. One of them actually going to the gym that I started 20 years ago that I love. But at the end of the day, like, I don't know, man, like I'm okay with the stillness part. Like it's wild to me to be able to just not even worry about watching the fucking game. I know that sounds crazy, but I would just be watching the game because it's Sunday and that's what we're doing, watching the game. Instead, I'm asking my daughter about something more meaningful, or I'm working on reading something that's going to make me smarter, or I don't know. Like, I don't know. I'm just not super twisted up about this whole thing. And I think, Johnny, you really aren't either.
No, you can't be, because it's what it is. It's reality, and it's right now. So being twisted up about it, that's just a moronic way to think. Whether you like it or not doesn't matter. It's reality. So what are you gonna do with it? It's the same fucking thing always. And what I've found, what's interesting, is time moved slower when we were children. I think we all can admit that. It moves so much,
no question,
faster when you're an adult. And I was thinking about this. So when you're a kid, I think part of the reason time moves so slow is because you count down the fucking days to your birthday, to Christmas. When you're counting down the days to things and life is more simplistic, time moves slower. But like things were also more magical, right? When you have 20 million things going on, nothing's really magical. But like I find myself looking forward to things and like counting down days, time's moving slower, which gives me almost more time to think about things that matter. And I'm looking forward to simple things. And I've lowered my expectations during this period on life and people. I've lowered them. So it's really hard to have a bad day because I'm fully accepting of what's going on. And I don't expect to have this great, interesting day or night. I expect to literally maybe fucking have my like a plenty of time by 5 o'clock when I normally wouldn't. And then at that time, I accept that I'm not searching, because that'll drive you crazy. It fucking is what it is, bro. There ain't shit you can do. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm content with it. You know what I'm saying? And I just wish people could just realize that, like, the more you scroll, the more you do this, it ain't changing anything.
Part of you like it, John?
Absolutely, part of me likes it,
Same.
100%, because it's like this. It's like this test. I like to be tested. I like to find out what I'm made of. And no one could have ever said, okay, you're going to go through this situation, let's say owning what you own, having the interests you have, and here's what's going to go, here's what's going to happen, go.
Yeah.
That's what this is. And you have to balance everything from your emotions to your relationships, to the way you treat people, to the way you act, to the way you behave. And it's another thing that I know I'm going to walk out of, and it will be a notch on my belt that will add wisdom. And I
Oh,
believe, and this isn't me specific. This is to all of us who make it through this in an appropriate way. I really do believe that.
yeah. It'll be, towards confidence of future business dealings and life dealings. No question. How could it not? Right.
Yeah, man. It's like, how are you going to break me down? How are you going to break me down? And then more than anything is, how am I going to break myself down? How am I going to give myself a shitty day? Like these are stressful times or challenging times, but to be honest, I don't feel stressed out at all, because I know that everything lies in my hands and in my head, and with that comes responsibility, and I'm ready for it. And that's what it is. So I'm not going to stress about it. I'm going to act on it like I always do. And the things that I can't control, like a cure for this virus, I can't control. And I'll say this a million times. For those of us who have older family members, okay, I can't control that. My stress comes from that. My stress comes
Yeah.
from that. But outside of that, man, nah, this is going to give us a higher level of control over our own minds. That's a fact.
Yeah, it's like and we talk about a lot about self-talk on the podcast too, and challenging ourselves through different things. And like for once, Johnny, this was a major one that we all have the same challenge with. You know what I'm saying? Like we talk about how we create things in our mind and we're up against this and we challenge ourselves to be more productive and all. It's interesting because everyone's on a similar playing field, like the entire planet. It's so we've just
It is.
never right. We've never really experienced and with the training business, I started to realize like, yo, the dudes in Ireland can't go to the gym neither. Like this is like, you know what I mean? Like I started on my social media, I'm seeing the international stuff and I'm like, this is the first time that we're all in the same boat, bro. Like across the board. It is so unique and something that as we get through it, man, it will be, I think, a notch on our belt per se, or a badge of honor of our generation, especially being within business at this time frame, like with the market and with being in small business. Like this is something, John, that we'll be able to speak about really for the rest of our lives and what we did during this time, and being able to give advice on uncovering maybe some of the stuff people are entertaining themselves away from. I couldn't even be more proud of that type of advice, because when the real world starts up back again, not May 1st, but just in general, when it feels kind of back to normal, like, people that work through these things are going to have a leg up on everybody, because most people are going to probably feel worse coming out of this, not better.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And getting, what's interesting is this absolutely, even the earlier conversation connects to business, because if I think in a broad sense, okay, what gives me an advantage in business, obviously as an uneducated person, and honestly, I think it's because I know myself better than the person I'm sitting across the table from. And someone's like, wait, what is that? Like, I know myself, which means I can turn on my awareness. I can turn it off. I can turn on my emotions. I understand how to be in the moment at all times, because I know myself. I know the buttons that upset me. So all these things. So if you're thinking like, how does this connect to business? If you really know yourself, and business is all about different challenges, and a lot of times the challenges are behaving in a certain manner when things upset you, and keeping a level head and not going after people. Like, if you know yourself, you know how to do all those things, right? So when we say this stuff, like getting to know yourself, there's absolutely business benefits, because
Oh,
I haven't met one person who's a true leader of anybody that doesn't know who they are. And also, I haven't seen a larger group of people, I'd say 22 and under, who do not know who they are, because they've grown up with so much technology. So it's just a fascinating time. It's just fucking fascinating.
yeah. It's what are some I guess techniques or material, or is there anything that you can, push people towards, John, if they're kind of uncovering some of this stuff that's not them
Yeah.
going, I know you're obviously recommending them going to a professional, but is there
Yeah.
anything like during all these years that you've kind of seen a lot of value in that you could tell
Yeah,
them about?
absolutely. So the biggest thing is, it's almost like running into the fire. Go towards the pain, because I don't know one person who doesn't harbor pain, and we always run from it because it's pain. It hurts,
Mm-hmm.
but it must be dealt with. So if you're in these situations, as opposed to fucking, if you hear something that reminds you of that pain, you just fucking leave or stop talking. Run towards the pain, like run towards it, and immerse yourself in it, and force yourself into it, because that's how you relieve yourself of it for the rest of your life. Now, that doesn't sound fun. It doesn't
No.
sound anything.
Yeah, right.
But the payoff, see, people are so stupid nowadays, right? If they can't see a
Yeah.
stack of cash, they don't believe in a payoff. Well, I'll tell you, this is so much more valuable than a stack of cash if you fucking take your pain on head on, and stop being a pussy, and stop being afraid of it, and saying, yes, this is ravaging me in my life, and it's time to face down the motherfucker and figure it out. That's my advice, beyond any book, beyond anything. Face it down, and from there, yeah, you probably need to talk to a professional. But pain is like, it's like a GPS. It's like a
Mhm.
fucking GPS on the road you need to go down to fix a lot of your shit.
I remember as you were talking, I was thinking back like a long time ago, right when I started into business, probably like 2000. Man, I've been in business maybe like 4 years, and I hadn't really talked to my old man for the first two or three. And I remember the way they would make me feel, right? And then I started talking to him again, and he said something one day, and I can't even remember the exact thing he said, but I felt exactly like an overwhelming amount of like rage and upsettedness. And I had never before that time ever just told him. You know what I mean? Because I wanted to whoop his ass, John. Basically, I know you've been there many times as your old man, or did. And I remember telling him exactly what was in a slight rage. I'm not going to say it was nice, but that's how it felt. And it wasn't confrontational, but it was very. I think I articulated myself well. And I remember the release of how much better, because I had been harboring that since I was probably 11 years old. And here I am at 20, let's call it 2 or 3, easily able to whoop my old man's ass at this point. Not even a question, right? As were you, Johnny, at probably even a younger age for how big you are. But being able to really tell him how my experience was, it literally lifted a lot. And I think it allowed me to be way more of a successful person because of it, because it was like holding me down, right? And over time, as we had an okay relationship, I was able to share things with them in a little bit better way other than that time. But that was the time that really started a process for me of getting through those type of things that really were contributing to, me not just not feeling all the way whole. And because I never really got to share like how fucked up some of this stuff was.
Yeah.
And it made a huge difference, bro.
Dude,
huge difference.
It's amazing, right? So you have,
but it did hurt though. There's no doubt it was hurting, and that's why I just let it out. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and think about it like this. So let's say somebody has a similar situation with their father, and their father has, just been rough on them and essentially made them defensive because their father's always nitpicking them. So their whole childhood, they're defensive to their father, but they never stand up to their father and say, "Hey, man, back the fuck off me." Here's what happens. All the other people they come across in their life, they're defensive to, and they act the way that they need to act towards their father. Like, "Hey, dude, back the fuck off me." See, everyone projects on other people the pain that's inside of them that's deep-seated. And all of a sudden, you as a person who has been judged by your father your whole fucking life and you never had the balls to stand up to him, you have this pattern in your life. And the pattern is you can't really get close to people because you're so fucking defensive, you push people away. Well, here's what happens. If you choose to put that in its correct place and confront him and say, "Dude, fuck that. Get the fuck off me. I'm a grown man or I'm a grown woman." What happens is you just magically stop being so defensive to people who you shouldn't be defensive to. And then you could start. Yes, it has to go in its correct place, or else it gets projected on other people. We all know people who have these weird quirks, and we're like, "Why the fuck are you like that?" Because they haven't dealt with their shit and put it in the correct compartment. If you put it in the wrong compartment, it comes out in ways that don't make sense. That doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying?
Itself makes a ton of sense the way you just explained it. And I remember I experienced more success that year. I was better. It just felt like there was some stuff that just wasn't handled, and it was things I always wanted to handle. And, I don't think I had the same type of like, anger that maybe you had dealt with, John, but I had some definite anger problems when I was a kid, and it was all rooted in this stuff. I was fucking mad, and because I never got to stand up as a man and speak my mind.
Correct.
And once I was able to, I became like, it's crazy because I got in trouble for, punching a guy real bad one time. I would vandalize stuff. Like, I'd fucking punch holes and stuff. Like, a lot of people probably don't think that when they think of me, but I had all of those same problems, like I remember some guy came to fucking piss me off one time, and he had a brand new fucking 10-speed, and I fucking spiked it off the ground probably 30 times. And he couldn't even drive it home because I was so fucking pissed to something he did. Like, I used to just act out because I was an angry kid. But until I got a chance to actually say to the person of why I felt that way, man, I got like way more low key after that. It took down my kind of level of, I can get there still, but it takes a really long time. But I was like a way more quick lit fuse all the way till then. It cleared up a lot for me, and it allowed me to let everything kind of be a little bit more low key, and then I could pick my spots better. And I think it had a lot to do with me being continually successful, because I wasn't making crazy like rises in my business. It took me 10 years to build a halfway decent personal training business till I even had the opportunity to get into supplements. So it was just a steady, gradual process for that first decade of business. But year 3 is kind of where I, took that head on. And then, my dad passed away a few years later, and I was really glad that I did that. I mean, if not, what if I would have never handled that? I mean, that
it would still be haunting you today,
and would have limited my success. How could it have not?
Fact,
right, Johnny?
Dude, fact. And as you're talking, of course, it's reflecting back on me. So here's essentially, now imagine if I didn't deal with this, right? So because of my situation, and the reason I'm putting this out there is so people can try to plug their, situations in. My situation was, I was too young to do anything about abuse in my home, father to mother, right? So once I become a teenager, it's almost what happened to me mentally was I was almost emasculated, right? Like someone in my home hurt my mother and I didn't do anything about it. That's how my brain processed it. And that fucked me up. So what I did is at every opportunity, didn't matter who you were, you had to pay for it. I had to prove to myself by hurting other. Think how fucked up that is. By hurting other people that I was a man. And every time I did it, I still felt empty. I wasn't a man because I couldn't change what happened. I couldn't change, no matter how many fucking jaws I broke, and I did bad stuff. How many fights I got, nothing would change. Nothing would change. Well, I eventually had to realize what I was doing, right? Dude, if I didn't realize what I was doing, I'd be in prison right now or worse. And I've gotten, I've done 2 different like stints when I was younger and like counting, but think about how dangerous that pattern is. And if I didn't deal with what was real, I would be in prison or dead right now. So that's extreme, but I think we all have levels of that. And the only reason I'm sharing that is so people can understand how dangerous it is not to deal with this stuff.
Well, and Johnny, even though from what I gathered on your storytelling to this point over the years of the podcast, when you went to drug use, it wasn't because of that, but because it was because you ripped your pec, you got hooked on the painkillers, but it probably covered up a lot of that. So that's probably, so that's how you got sucked into the vortex. It was initially from a lifting injury, but it pulled you in because it numbed these things you're talking about. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man.
And then when you come out of that and uncover it, then that's what also has allowed you to be clean all these years now. What, 10 plus years?
People, anyone who's gotten clean knows it's like it is a spiritual experience because you're like naked from a vulnerability stand. All your fucked up shit is just there, and it's time. It's like someone hits a stopwatch and says, "Go, time to fix your shit." When you clean yourself up, you are you got nothing. You're fucking it. All you have is the truth, and you're ashamed, and you're all this stuff. But if you get it right, you say, "Okay, the past is the past. I'm going to change it." And that's what it was.
Is it literally like the ultimate clean slate, bare bones, because there's nothing real. It's literally only up from there, Johnny. Is that how it feels?
Yeah, that's it. And you can't lie. See, anyone who wants to get clean or you can't lie. You can't lie anymore. You let all the people who you said, and I don't have a problem, or I don't do, no more lying. So like, you're literally like, all of you's on a table. And if there's people around you that care, they embrace you. Right. And that's, and that feeling of wow, people fucking,
people love me.
Like that I want everyone to understand, especially if they know someone who's struggling, that right there is what lifts people. It's not, here, well, I'll show you how to do it. No, man, they don't need to be preached to. They just need to feel. They need to feel that. They need to feel love, because when you take drugs, all you're doing is you're taking something that gives you a feeling. It gives you a feeling. That's it. It's a synthetic feeling. It's fake. So if we take the drugs out, these are people who don't feel things they need to feel. Well, love is a powerful feeling. And if you want to increase your chances of affecting someone, that's how you do it.
John, throughout that process of coming out of that, did you don't grab me as somebody that maybe shared your feelings, like of how you felt about somebody maybe prior to that, and maybe I'm wrong, but after that, are you a person that, with your mom or people like your brother, like, do you then to this day share your feelings more with them, tell them you love them, that type of thing? That's kind of a personal question. I just wondered if that's something that you do.
What I do is I make way more effort to show people that they matter. Okay. So basically, I call them more than they call me. I make, there's this weird thing, right? Where even if it's our parents, when we call them and ask, hey, what's going on? You know,
Huge.
we're kind of going through motions. You know, we really, just truth be told, we're not like that into it, but I try to get into it. You know what I'm saying? It's those things as
Mhm.
opposed to just going through the damn motion. I try to actually fucking be invested in it.
Yeah. And that was something prior you probably did not do?
No, you had to call me and I had to call you back and I didn't call you back. And you're a selfish monster when,
Yeah.
when you go through those experiences. But I wouldn't change it for the world because it makes you realize, again, if you're open to it, it made me realize I was a selfish monster. It made me realize I was a terrible friend. It made me realize that I just was a fucking raging animal. It made me realize all those things. So they all stopped because
Yeah,
I want, yeah.
you were saying something to me the other day. You were like, because John got upset about a certain issue like a few weeks ago, and he was like, "That's probably the most upset I've seen him since I've known him, that I've witnessed anyway." And he goes, "Oh, bro, that's like a 7." And he goes like this. He goes, "And that used to be daily back in the day,"
Yeah.
which to me is crazy. But that's what you've had to essentially through these processes. You know, that was limiting. You were having success in businesses, but you were starting to run into the wall where you couldn't scale because you were operating that way, right?
Yeah.
Which is so being aware and handling those things, all the stuff you're talking about was stuff that you were uncovering that I wasn't aware of because I wasn't with you then.
Sure.
But I saw an ounce of it. And yeah, if you were blowing up like that every day, I'd be like, I'm not fucking working with this guy.
Correct.
I mean, it's just the truth. I wouldn't want to deal with that every day. It's because
No.
eventually it's going to be at me and I'm not
Right.
going to fucking want to, you know what I'm saying? And that's probably how
Right.
people were. And you're like wondering why you can't keep quality people. So it's like, it's so hard to do that and look internal like that, because then you have to sift through the shit that you don't want to. I mean, it's rough, but kudos to you, Johnny, because dealing with that shit you grew up with, man, and uncovering and having the success, going through the stuff that you went with those pills and being able to, you know, morph and accomplish what you have, bro, it's pretty awesome, man. It really is.
Listen, I appreciate it, and listen, everybody has their cross to bear. You know,
For sure.
nobody comes into this life without you know, their issues. But it's just when we pretend like we live the perfect life when all we're doing is we're lying to ourselves and we're fucking ourselves and we're disabling ourselves from being able to make it out, if you will.
Well, and there's no material item that could have fixed me feeling the way I felt that day that I just shared with you guys. There's no watch, there's no car, there's no house that could have fixed what that fixed for me that day. Since then, it like you said, that's what I wanted to kind of re-drill, was like there was empty feelings on things that were material or hurting people because they weren't really the root. And that's why you can't really run away from them if you go to the fire, which is what John said, which I did really because I just boiled up over and I finally was just like fucking tired of it. And I had built some confidence around me as a young professional and worked on my body. Like I just felt like I could stand up finally. Not because I didn't think I was physically going to get hurt. It wasn't really like that. It was more like I just finally was like, you know what? I'm a fucking grown ass man now. I'm fucking tired of this shit. This is what it is. And either we're going to have a relationship after this or we're not, but I got to do this for me. And then that just opened up everything. And that really made just a massive difference. And I would tell everybody, and I hope my kids do it with me too. They're going to have I'm definitely going to give them issues with my craziness. They're going to have their issues with me and I'm going to have to deal with that too. That's just what it is, bro. Yeah. We all, like you said, no one comes in with no issues.
No, nobody does. And what's funny is like, think about conversations that we have with quote, you know, making quotes with my hands right now with friends. How much of those conversations are conversations like this that actually matter, right? Like you know what I'm saying? Like that's the whole problem with I don't know, man, society is substance is something that is, it's like, dude, I don't want to do this. I want to just fucking be able to chill and do this. And everyone puts off what's real. It's like, if you have someone out there, a friend, a family member, whatever, that you can talk to like this, man, fucking, we need more talk like this, because this is straight real talk. That's
Yeah.
all it is. There's nothing, no one's trying to look cool, no, this is real fucking talk. And I think you could start with real fucking thinking, but you have to have this, and it correlates with business, life, and everything. And if you don't have it, man, you are in for some pain. I promise you that. And I don't want that for anybody.
I think we understood this in the early days of Activate Radio, Johnny, right? We got into some talks, not this exact one, but in these type of veins, and we started to realize, like, man, we're uncovering a lot each week. And I really got addicted to podcasting in a good way because of this, because I felt this was like part of my therapy, essentially.
Where else are we getting to get to these levels,
No.
from a conversation standpoint? Nobody's coming over, hey, you want to have a beer and talk about what matters? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
that's not how it goes. But,
well,
but maybe it should be, right? It's a lot of people think they go to church for this. Now, you're not going to church for this. You're going to church because you think going to church gives you this. And I'm not going to say church is a bad thing, but it's not specific to you. So a lot of people want to believe that they're tending to their soul, if you will. But they're going through motions again to make themselves feel better. I know so many people, and I don't want to, rag on church, that are fucking assholes 6 days a week, but on fucking Sunday, they get dressed up and and they smile. Well, you're still a fucking asshole. To church. Fucking God still sees your ass 6 days a week being a fucking prick. So, fucking sitting in that pew, fucking eating that little wafer ain't gonna save your fucking ass. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I'm guessing you grew up Catholic, right, Johnny? You're Italian.
Yeah, I grew up Catholic.
Yeah, same. But I came up with that also, that kind of realization once I, left home, was like, I don't think I need to go to church to be a good person. Like, they make you think that when you're young, bro. I'm going to piss off some Catholics, but that's what I felt like.
Because they want to control you. They want to control you, and they want to fuck little boys. And that's why the Catholic Church can go get fucked. And that's why they're getting fucked. And that's why, it's all fucked up. I would never put my kid in the Catholic Church ever. I'm a firm believer in Jesus, as everyone knows. That fuck the Catholic Church. They try to hide their issues with money because they have more money than anybody. They try to hide the goddamn issues, and you are ruining children's lives. It's like murdering a child's fucking psyche to fucking rape them, and then you just move a priest from here to there. They've been doing it forever. You want to talk about ungodly? You want to talk about if there is a fucking hell, who's going there? It's these fucking perverts.
The one priest that got in trouble whenever I was an altar boy from second grade all the way through, I was like 15 years old. Luckily, never had any of I had one dude that was a little weird, but I never really saw anything happen or whatever. But there was a guy that got in trouble by being with a woman. So I was like, all right, well, that's natural. At least you're good. You're good on that, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he wasn't messing with anybody. But that was definitely, that realization after that is also what lent to me being more just like, you know what, I'm going to try to live right. I can follow my own teachings that I believe in, and that's it. I don't think I need to go there to, really appease anybody. It's really more of an internal thing. I was trying to think how we can kind of wrap this up, John. What do you think is kind of like, people are listening? Yeah. They've been listening for a while. They're really starting to think like, oh shit, like maybe this is some things that are hindering me. I've uncovered these dudes is talking real stuff. How we wrap this thing.
I think, just generally speaking, what we talked about earlier, if people could get their mind in a place where the world's giving you a break and it's never going to give you one again. So stop trying to do what you were doing when you were in the rat race, and accept the break it's giving you, because it is the perfect time to get yourself right. Like you like please look at it that way. Because I promise you, never in my life, and I'll never say, will the world give us a break? You know what I'm saying? To essentially, just stop for the most part. Sure, there's responsibility. I know all that stuff, obviously, but stop trying to make it what it was before, and start trying to make a new kind of way. And you gotta cater to you.
Yeah. Hey, well said, John. I appreciate the honesty. I think the conversation was needed, and hopefully there's a few people that, we put some light bulbs on for today, that they can go and research and search out some things internally to make themselves feel better. I mean, I really think that hopefully they'll uncover some new things about themselves and deal with some of this stuff and keep it rolling, keep it moving, boy.
Yeah, I think here's how I look at it. If you're willing to dig in, kudos, God bless, and you have strength. If you're not willing to dig in, you're a pussy, and I hope you know that. So, yeah.
There it is.
Yep.
All right. Make sure you guys leave us a 5-star review, of course, over on iTunes. Share it with your friends. And without further ado, Johnny Fosco,
G,
can the podcast be stopped?
the podcast can't be
Stop. All right, we got to do the intro. We still live. 3, 2, 1. On this episode, we're going to dig deep, uncover some stuff, but I believe this episode is so needed, it's going to make a huge difference in people, Johnny, if they're willing to listen. I really believe that.
Yeah, like I said, for those of you who are willing to dig, this episode is going to have so much value. And when I say dig, I mean dig into yourself, because this is a deep episode. If you guys know the ocean, Jacques Cousteau. He went like 5,000 fucking feet under. We go Jacques Cousteau in this. And if you're not willing to dig deep on yourself, you're a pussy and you should stop listening. But I don't think you are. I think you're willing to, and that's why this episode's very valuable.
Let's go to the show.
So